This is a part of a video that I'm making on holistic modeling of a unidirectional composite. Previously, I've shown you how to generate the geometry of the unidirectional composite, and this one I also show you how to apply the boundary conditions that you need to create loading in all three dimensions. In this third part of the video, we are going to take the results from that simulation to plot stress and strain data, as well as generate all set of effective properties for this kind of material. Let's sit back and relax as we get into this video. Okay, so in terms of putting all the results together, so this is sort of what you will see here. So if we just animate it so you could see what's going on here. So all of them are showing different kind of deformation and different modes of deformation, from the uniaxial in the x direction to the uniaxial in the y direction, the z case, the shear in the xy plane, shear in the XZ plane, and shear in the YZ plane. So we get that. So if we get to the end, so it shows you different kind of deformation. So again, if we look at the plastic strain of that, so it shows you how the failure is happening in all cases. So you get a very interesting kind of simulations results, which the dominant factor being that the interface is failing. And then we could look at even how the plastically deforming regions are. So basically this is the active yield function, the AC yield, and which is a measure of which elements have plastically deformed, and you could see those regions experiencing plastic deformation. Now the real thing that we want to do with all this is to try and see if we can extract the stress and strain data from this simulation. That's what we're going to do. So let's look at this first case, which is where we have this tensor deformation in the x-axis. So in order to get the stress strain data from this, so we'll go to here and click the history output, and once we get into the history output, remember we're testing this in the y-axis, so we're looking at the reaction in the x-axis and the displacement in the x-axis. So we've already asked for the history output for this to be shown. Again, if you want to refer back to the video that tells you about how to generate this to set up this model. So in the y-axis is what we're looking for, and the U1 axis is also what we're looking for. So once we generate that, then we'll plot that, and then it gives you this data which shows you the force and the displacement profile, similar to what you would do if you are doing an experiment. So what do we then do with it? So we'll go to plugins, tools, Excel utility, then export this current data into an Excel file. So the idea is that I want to take this Excel file and manipulate it inside Excel so that we can then finish up the simulation from there. So this is what the Excel file looks like. So I'll just put the cursor there and Control A to select all and Control C to copy all. Now I've already formatted an Excel template that we're going to use to do all the analysis and extract our parameters. So I'm going to open up the Excel file. So this is what the template file looks like. So right here, I've already put the information here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste inside in this environment the data that I copied across. And what it will do is that it will now plot the stress strain data for me in tension. Some of the parameters that we need here are the length of the RV, which is 120 microns, and the width, and then it helps me calculate the Young's modulus and the strength of the material. Again, there are information of how you can generate that information, and then we get the plot of stress and strain data and the remaining of all that. So that's the first case of how you get the stress and strain data. And in terms of the Young's modulus is calculated based on the slope of the stress and strain in the linear elastic region, and the effective strength is basically the maximum of all the value that is here. So I need to draw it to the end. So it's basically the maximum of the stress data, the absolute maximum of stress data, which is coming up to around, around 40 megapascal in this. It's limited by the behavior of this. So that's that. Then in terms of how the strain was calculated, what do we do in calculating the strain? So you're looking at the stress, the displacement in the one-axis divided by the value of the edge length on that, which is 100 microns. So that's fine. And then in terms of the stress is calculated based on force divided by the cross-sectional area, and the cross-sectional area on that face will be 120 by 100, and this is what we found there. So we can go back and do the same for the second case, which is the Y tension, and a similar kind of argument will hold. So we'll plot it, and then if we look at the data that we get from that, so I've done it for the Y tension, and we're seeing that there's clear no failure in the Y tension, no significant post-yield in this Y tension, but the values are comparable. So if we do it in Z axis, again, because it's dominated by linear elastic response, so we get this. clearly this strength is too much, and that's because we don't have any failure model for the fiber in the z-axis, so that's fine. But then what do you do with the shear cases? So let's look at the shear strain. So remember, this is what we had as our shear strain for this model. Now how do you deal with the shear strain? So we go back here and then look at the history output. So for this, there are two variables that we want to look at: the reaction force of reference point 1 in the y-axis, the reaction force in the x-axis of reference point 2. And then the other thing is that based on that, so we are going to then do reference point 1, so the displacement in that direction and displacement in those two directions. So for this, what we'll have will be the reaction force in the x direction of reference point 2, reaction in the y direction of reference point 1, and then their corresponding displacement, and then we plot it, then it gives us that value. Okay, so then we can then go again, Abacus plugin, Excel utility, current plot, and then this will give us the raw data for all of these values that we have looked at. So that's the raw data. So I'm just going to Control A and Control C to copy. Then I'll go back to my template file. So this is what my template file will look like. So I'm just going to paste that information there. Okay, so you can see now we've pasted information. Let's just think about it. So remember the reference point in the x direction and the reference in the y direction for the 2 points, the reaction forces, and their corresponding displacements are also done here, and we put it in there, and then all the numbers are all defined here as to how those were. So basically the stress in the y-x plane and the stress in the xy plane are all calculated here, and then what I then did is to try and find the average of those two so that we get a single plot that gives a representation of where everything is happening. And then we can work out what the Young's modulus is. The Young modulus basically will be the slope in one axis plus the slope in the other axis times divided by 2, so which is what we find here. And the same thing in terms of the absolute maximum strength, since there are these two plots, so I get the average of those two, and that's what you see here. Again, this Excel file will be available for you to download in the download section of this video, so please do get hold of it and use it as part of your analysis. So this is the sort of plot that you will get, 1 and 2 direction, as well as the average value and direction. And the average is really important because at times you may be applying 2 different stresses on the domain, and so you want to get the averaged out behavior of the system. So this is what we find here. So if we go back to the XZ plane, for example, so XZ plane, so we do the same. We look at the history output, and with the history output, so once we've done that, we'll do that for XZ similarly, and then we'll do a similar thing for YZ similarly in the way we've done it, and then that gives you all the values, and then you get the plot. Now the final thing I did was to compare all 3. So when you compare all 3, so the first thing you will see will be this data that gives you a comparison of this being the X tension, so the Z tension. So this is dominated by the fiber, so it's way too high. It's not something to worry about. And then these are the 2 transverse cases, X tension and Y tension, so they are similar in behavior. However, this didn't finish the end, it stopped prematurely, so that's why it's stopping here. But if I allowed it to carry on to the end, it will go as far as this. And then all that are the 3 shear load cases, okay, with the XY shear being slightly higher than the other 2 out of plane shear cases. So it gives us some really interesting result and very, kind of repetitive result. So if we zoom in more closely, taking away the tensile case, it can show you what is really happening in the result. And then the final thing I did was to look at the result you're generating from them, the actual effective properties. So you could see that XY tension and compression are comparable in moduli. The Z tension, okay, is much stronger, fine. The XY shear. So these are all the effective properties that you will get for a unidirectional composite, and then the same thing comparable to their strengths, they're all there. So what we're seeing from here is that with this kind of simulation, you can run a holistic model where you generate all the properties simply from a micro scale model like I've shown here. If this is the kind of content that you like, please do subscribe to this channel so that when contents like this are made, you'll be the first to see it. If you also want to check out how this can be also done for a multi-fiber system, then this video will be the video for you. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.